Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Darren. In today's video, I actually got a tweet from one of my viewers asking me what do I think about a forum post that was created about 5 hours ago from recording this video. The forum post goes talk about, it's a US post, removal of racials from rated PvP. And as of course, it talks about, hey, I love PvP, but I think racials make too much of an advantage. Maybe they should take him out of the game for improvement for PvP so that we can play whatever race, whatever class combination we want and have that kind of freedom, since a lot of the things are being stripped and people sometimes play specific racials because of a certain advantage they might have in PvP or PvE. And for the longest time, Blizzard has tried to, I guess, bridge the gap as much as they could in Legion with the change of how they approach the gear, the PvP templates, the fact that we don't have PvP item sets or anything, and it's a fair point. And I kind of just want to talk about this and talk about the pros and the cons, and then my thought process on it. So let's talk about first, why would you want to take out racials? Not saying that anybody is going to do it tomorrow, but why would anyone want to? And you kind of got to understand this side, and a lot of people are not on this side of the PvP angle. But when you take a look at racials that are just broken, when a racial literally tells you which meta should you be playing for PvP, we can take a look at two expansions, Legion and Warlords of Draenor. If you take a look at Legion, everybody remembers the hype behind everybody go Alliance and why everyone plays Alliance for PvP. If you played Human back when Alliance and Warlords of Draenor was a thing, even though there was not a lot of content to do in Warlords of Draenor, at least as a human you had two trinkets for damage. One was a proc trinket, and the other was an unused trinket. This means that if you're playing as an undead, or as an orc, or really any of the other racials for the horde, when you're trying to go PvP, you have to be really careful which trinket you choose. Do you want to go with a CC breaker trinket that gives you basically abysmal stats and a choice of unused or a proc trinket, or would you rather have a human and have the best of both worlds? A CC breaker, a unused damage trinket every minute, and a proc trinket that is super damn strong. Combined together with your burst, you are actually hitting harder. In Legion, I think it's a lot more apparent if you ever looked at a orc with Relentless. I mean, it was to the point where it was actually silly. You had the racial that reduced 25% of stun reduction, and then you had a passive for a trinket instead of a normal trinket, just a passive that reduces all CC by 25%. So if you're an orc with Relentless, which after a while Relentless did get nerfed slightly down to 20%. I mean, even right now, it can be silly. A lot of classes have stuns, and majority of classes CC consists of stuns. Even a Shadow Priest has a stun. I mean, that was so long ago since only in Legion did Shadow Priest get a stun. An actual stun, not a disarm that they used to have, the horror effect. Not the fear, silence, but the stun. So many classes have stuns, and playing an orc, you're basically just ignoring a lot of CC. You're basically increasing your chance of survival. Of course, this was at the beginning of Legion, and a lot of people have wisened up. Alliance and Horde technically are both viable, playable, and even the human racial at one point through the mid of Legion started rearing its head back in, saying, hey, there's a lot of stuns in the game. You basically have almost a second trinket if you play human. So a lot of people that do talk about, hey, let's remove racials, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about removing things that force you to play a certain race class combination. You're taking away that freedom. Let's say, how many warriors have you seen that are rank 1 warriors that are goblins or Pandaren? A lot of them are probably going to be either human, orc, maybe even blood elf, the racials that are super powerful right now, at least on average. Now, the other side of the argument is, hey, don't remove racials, because they make the game unique. A lot of games I've played in the past, like MMOs, they try to take the racials out of the question and maybe leave it in a PvE sense. The fact that World of Warcraft has been able to incorporate racials at a small manner or a high manner, where the racials didn't really matter back in the day, or maybe they matter super right now, it still had racials, it still had uniqueness. A human rogue was different than a gnome rogue, a blood elf rogue was different than an orc rogue. That slight difference is what gave players a little bit extra flavor to themselves, a little flavor of choice, what they wanted out of the game. And a lot of players have been able to take advantage of those things to some extent. And then there's players that, let's say, play a gnome mage, where they could probably do better and on average as a human mage because the trinket, but as a gnome mage to be able to school somebody, or even be a gnome mage just because most people have a hard time targeting you if, let's say, they don't play with bards on. Stuff like this adds a little bit more to the personalized experience. And I'm on board with that. I like that idea. So we have two sides that are pretty, I think straightforward. I can see the idea of why you shouldn't have racials in Legion and why you should, but this is where I stand. I don't think it's as much as don't remove racials, but rather don't remove anything. And rather, I'll take it a step further, bring it back. The reason I think a lot of the people that are talking about, hey, let's remove racials. I mean, of course, there's been an amount of people. I'm not gonna say small or big, but an amount of people that talked about, hey, I think racials and removing from PvP, I think would allow me to play what I always wanted to be, a Pandaren priest or something along those lines, right? Just a racial that never really made sense, but you can play something funny, some crazy wacky, zany combo. But I feel that racials simply grew in potential as the game went on. We're currently in Legion, and if you roll it back to another expansion like Warlords, back in WoD, gear actually mattered. You had to choose what race you were, which trinkets you were going to use, what kind of playstyle you wanted, and if you wanted the 2-piece or the 4-piece bonus, or do you want to go for versatility gear. Roll back another expansion, we had reforging, we had jamming, we had to enchant every single bit of gear, and the game simply just had you a lot more tools where racial was just such a minor thing, where Horde could literally play without a racial. If you were a mage, you could get out of stuns with a blink and out of fears with a racial. So you could play mage undead. And if you want to play on a horde as an orc, you could play orc just fine. You won't set stuns as long as you could, and you could just go offensive. Or you could even go for a trinket and modify the stats of that trinket in order to get you a little bit more damage where you want it. And let's say the trinket would give you, I don't remember what it gave you back then, but let's say it gives you crit, and you could modify it to give you mastery or haste, so you can adjust it to your class. I think back in the day, back with every single expansion back, even to Cataclysm, you had things like resilience, PvP resilience. You had all these stats, all these little tidbits that worked together in a machine to make PvP experience. And as we went further and further and further away from, let's say, at least Cataclysm, because that's what I played. I never played Wrath of the Lich King. We started stripping more and more and more away, or not we, but Blizzard. And we're down to honor levels, item level, and racial. Even trinkets don't matter. Back in the day, 4-piece, 2-piece bonuses could make a difference. You had overall a lot more aspects of the game that could affect your PvP experience, whether you're good or not, whether you can, let's say, oh, I'm playing a Pandaren Rogue, okay, how can we adjust that? Which stats should I go for? At least you can adjust your stats so you could adjust it to your specialization, so you could be more or less on par with others. You could get specific trinkets, specific gear, maybe even enchants, maybe even a choice of which necklace you wanted, which rings you wanted. You could adjust your stats to figure out how you want to play, and all these things were so prevalent that a racial was just a minor bit in the cogwheel. But there were so many other cogs that were all functional and working, the racial had less of a matter. Racial just wasn't as important. To some extent it was, but it wasn't as important. So I think the racial and the idea of racials only became a lot more prevalent as we started basically making the game more naked from a PvP perspective. So I don't think it's the idea of let's remove racials. I don't agree with that. Although I was like this for a bit, and I thought, okay, well, if we're removing a lot of things and we're trying to really balance PvP out, yeah, let's remove a lot of things. But I feel like at the same time, if you start removing racials, what else can you remove from PvP? What else? Do you remove the item level then? Do you just balance out everyone's item level to a specific standard? Does conquest points not matter? You know, the amount of points you put in, the more damage you do in PvP. I want this game to continue having a little bit of life. I don't want it to be a lifeless husk where you just queue into this balanced version of PvP, or as balanced as you can, without any real flavor. Of course, let's say we all love balance in a game, but let's be honest, most of us play Blizzard games, and we know that balance isn't Blizzard's strong suit. But it's not why we play them. We play them because they're fun. We play them because they can be challenging. We play them because our friends play it. We play them because exciting moments can happen within a game. RNG, you have big bursts, big one-shot macros, some crazy outplays, maybe some crazy piece of gear that everybody's starting to farm. I think that's what gave the game a lot of life. And I feel like it was even more unbalanced, like vanilla. A lot of people tell me vanilla was really unbalanced, but it was still, for a lot of people, even though it was an unbalanced mess, it was still some of the best time they ever had in PvP. So I think we should go back, actually. We should go backwards and adjust more into the game. We should throw more what made it fun, what made it exciting. And yes, there's probably going to be a lot of disbalance. But we had a lot more people play back in Wrath where things were pretty disbalanced. You had arms warriors one-shotting and mages could kite for ages. But a lot of people played. So I think they had the formula figured out then. And as I try to standardize it more and more, I feel like it took away a little bit of life from the game, little by little. But that's just my thoughts. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching the video. This was more serious of a video, but I honestly wanted to cover it. Just want to give my thoughts on it. So you guys feel free to comment down below. Tell me your thoughts. Tell me what you think about the topic. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked the video, go ahead and give it a like. As always, all likes allow my videos to reach a wider audience. So you guys giving videos likes allows my channel to grow. I'd be appreciated if you guys did that. If you enjoy the videos, go ahead and hit subscribe if you want to listen to more topics like these, or BFA information, or patch updates, or PvP like 5.1.1 that we do regularly. Go ahead and subscribe. If you want to catch the live streams, go ahead and hit the notification bell next to the subscribe button. And without further ado guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see all of you in another video.